you are right now. I made that recognition a decade ago, and it freaked me out too, but work your way through it. I got your back, type thing. The idea is, you can't believe something to be true. And I'll talk later in the epistemology video lecture on the distinction between, as a matter of fact, the next section is about belief and knowledge, right? I'll talk more rigorously about the distinctions between believing and knowing. But knowing has more substance than believing. And I'll make sense of all of that later. You can't believe it to be the case. You have to know that it's the case. There's undeniable things of my own personal existence that I know to be the case, and no amount of mental manipulation from any shrink, from any philosopher, from any logician could undermine the things that I know with absolute certainty. And those things that I know with absolute certainty, which I'm not going to disclose here, are the basis and the foundation for my being in the world. In a Heideggerian sense, right? In a very, really Heideggerian sense. And for those of you who understand that claim, more power to you. So, unless the premise, number two, unless the premise which I adduced was something which I knew to be the case, he knows, adduced, that by giving the example that this is, in fact, my right hand. It's not the claim like, oh, I believe this might be, this might be my right hand. See, this here, it might be my right hand, but, I don't really know per se if it might be. Like, that's Berkeley, right? Berkeley is, this might be my right hand. There might be, right? He takes a more audacious stance by saying, no, this is my right hand. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It is my right hand. And if you don't believe it, prove that it's not. Right? The only person that's going to be confused is you, not more. Right? Think about that. Once you have arrived at epistemological knowledge, with a big K, the proof is in your court to demonstrate that my knowledge is only belief. The only person who's going to get confused in this argument is you, not Moore. So Moore says, this is my right hand, and I know that it is my right hand. There's no other argument that can demonstrate to me that it's not, because I've just performatively demonstrated that it is in fact my right hand, and this is in fact my left hand. So he says, know it to be the case. Now one, I added these brackets just to make distinctions, which I thought was absolutely genius of Moore, right? And not merely something which I believed, but which was by no means certain, right? It's not the case that I have belief, but I have no certainty, right? So that the idea is, I do believe many things in the world. I can come up with any number of things, but I don't know it to be certain. So for example, I left the house very, very early this morning. I get to the university. I parked my car in the parking lot. There was probably only one other car in the parking lot because I got here at like 6:45 in the morning. So I parked my car in the parking lot and I leave. I believe a number of things. One, I believe that when I finish up my lecture series and I go back to the parking lot, more cars will be in the parking lot than were there this morning. I also believe that my car will be where I always park my car, because I'm usually here very, very early, so I get the spots, I get the prize spots, because I want those spots. I don't want my car to be anywhere else. So I believe, one, there will be more cars in the parking lot than were there this morning, but I also believe that my car will be in the same spot that it was. I don't know this for certain, and my beliefs won't be justified, and I'll talk about all of this later. My beliefs won't be justified until I actually validate that in reality. Right? So that there is a distinction between belief and knowledge, because I don't know it to be true. I believe it to be true. What I believe to be true are two things. One, that there will be more cars in the parking lot than were there this morning, and that my car will be in the same position that it was. Really, really simple example, but the idea is one of belief, not knowledge. Moore says it's not belief. It's not belief. It's not like, oh, it should be the case, but I don't know with certainty that this is my right hand. It's, this is my right hand. Right? And if you think about this, well, yeah, there is epistemological distinction between having the belief that my car is still there and having the belief that there will be more cars there than were there earlier, and this is my right hand. Right? There are two different levels of knowledge, and to say that there isn't a distinction in that requires you to show why there is no distinction. That's a really hard thing to do. Okay. Or, number two, something which, though in fact true, I did not know it to be so. The other example is there are things in the world which are true, but I don't know, in fact, why they're true, or how, more importantly, they are true. So, for example, people will talk about the God particle, right? Maybe a month ago or so, maybe a month and a half ago, scientists identified the God particle. And I know they hate the term the God particle, but that's what they, that's sort of the colloquial way of discussing this particle. So they identify the God particle. Okay, it is true that this thing exists. And I understand, in a very tangential sense, the argument for the existence of this thing, this particle. The truth is, though, it is true that this thing exists, but I don't really, me personally, scientists and physicists do, very few scientists and physicists truly understand, but I don't understand why it's true. I don't understand the conditions. No, I understand why it's true. I don't understand how it's true, right? It's true, why? Because of demonstration. How it's true is what I don't understand. That's the distinction in knowledge. The physicists have a real knowledge of the truth of the God particle, who discovered it, because they know how it's true. And obviously, that how is the formulaic recipe, which then they can send to other physicists throughout the world and attain reproducibility. You've created the particle, maybe not created or identified, you've identified the particle, you followed my recipe, the experiment protocol, and you've discovered it, and you've discovered it, and you discovered it. Therefore, they really know how it's true. I don't have any understanding. They could give me that recipe and I would be like, okay, that's very interesting, I don't get it. So there are things in the world which we believe to be true, as I said with the example of the car, but it's a lower form of epistemological knowledge than knowing it's true. There are things in the world which are true, the God particle, but I don't know how they're true, right? And he says that his example isn't either of those cases. It's not the fact that this demonstration is something that is true but he doesn't know, because he does know and it is true. And this thing isn't something that he believes to be true but isn't certain of. It's not a matter of his belief, it's a matter of his knowledge. He knows to be true and it is certain, right? So, again, just epistemologically rigorous. I mean, we're an hour plus into the analysis of an argument that's all of maybe 45, 50 words, right? Genius. And dense, I love that density. So 2a, to satisfy as a proof of the demonstration, to satisfy as a proof, the demonstration in question should be true, and the factors that satisfy its truth should be known. It has to be true, and you have to know that it's true. It can't be like the God particle, where it is true, but I don't understand why it's true, or how it's true, rather. Right? The truth, the structure in which factors make the conclusion true, I know how it's true. How is it true? It's true by performative demonstration. Alright, so that's 2a. 2b. So in 2.1, 2.1 pertains to 2 and then the bracket 1. 2.1 and 2.2 fail to satisfy the necessary conditions for proof, not the sufficiency. The necessary conditions for proof, because in 2.1, belief is epistemologically weaker than knowledge. I just explained that, right? The belief that my car is where it was when I parked it this morning, and also that there will likely be more cars in the parking lot than were there when I first arrived, is a belief I have. It's not knowledge until it's verified in experience. That experience is a mind-independent reality. It's not a product of some solipsistic creation of my mind. That reality is a mind-independent reality, not a mind-dependent reality. 2.2, to satisfy the condition of proof, not only must the facts be true, one must know how it is true. This is an example of the God particle, right? It's not just the case, I can't even say that I have knowledge of the God particle. I don't have knowledge of the God particle. I have belief, if you will, right? Which is stronger than faith. I have belief in the God particle because I know that physicists have demonstrated it. I know that the demonstration has a procedural aspect to it, which can then be emailed to, or texted, or Skyped, or friggin' clouded to other physicists, and they can reproduce the experiment to identify exactly the same thing. The reproducibility is the demonstration.